Hi, I'm Jay from Ars Garage. Today I'm at the Titan Motorsports Dyno Jet. I've got this S197 Mustang that I'm going to tune today. Twin turbocharged car, MoTeC plug and play, dog box, slipper clutch. Car's been 820s with 6266s. Now it has 6870s. It actually has Jim Braun's old turbo kit. We wanted a data set to be able to rely on, so the MoTeC has arguably the best data logging in the market, and we can now use the MoTeC to control the boost control, launch control, the gear cut shifting, and have safeties like coolant pressure, lambda control, fuel pressure control, just a whole bunch of host of things that in the end save you money, because if you have something go wrong, you've got something there to protect your investment. One of the greatest strong suits the MoTeC has is the ability to keep track of where the engine is in its rotation and how that relates to the timing pattern. So most standalone computers are going to keep track of where the engine is in rotation, but it's not always equal. So if you go back to the early days of standalone computers on modular Ford engines, you had guys that were breaking timing chains, and it was a lot of, well, it was a mess. You'd go and use like a factory EDIS module for coil control. Maybe you'd get a good one, maybe you'd get a bad one. Sync errors were pretty catastrophic because all that mistimed information would cause havoc inside of the engine. And the MoTeC just doesn't offer you those problems. So not only do you have excellent idea of where the engine is in rotation, you have excellent timing control. So timing scatter is not a problem. So whether the engine be at a steady state or accelerating while changing timing, each individual cylinder is getting the correct ignition timing. And you also have the ability to keep your variable cam control. So with a mod Ford, if you're using a standalone computer that you're just using one cam sync, not only do you lose the variable cam control, you lose the ability to see what the chains are doing. And these engines are not immune to failure when it comes to both timing chains and timing chain guides. So if you have a guide that's going away and that cam is losing position, you could be recording and monitoring that data as your engine goes through its lifespan. But if you don't have that information, you just have to wait till something breaks. As I mentioned before, this car has a strain gauge and a dog box. So now Bryant can just grab the handle, pull on it, and with a prescribed amount of force, it's going to initiate an ignition cut, a fuel cut, a ignition retard, or a combination of all three. One of the neat things about the MoTeC is the ability to reinstate that power. So if you have just a straight ignition cut box where it turns ignition cut on and turns ignition cut off, you don't have the opportunity to recover after the gear change and bring that power back in smoothly. So whether you're conserving driveline parts or you're conserving traction, having that ability to phase the ignition cuts back in or phase the ignition timing back in is going to make for smoother runs and less parts breakage. Another product we use on this car is a Rife sensor block. We used a 4-sensor block, which gives us water pressure, oil pressure, manifold pressure, and fuel pressure in one place. We were able to whip up a quick bracket that kept us from drilling holes in the vehicle. So we just made a bracket that screwed onto some of the existing firewall studs. So simple, clean installation. When you wire in those Rife sensor blocks, instead of running wires to each individual sensors, they're all in the same place, and you share the same reference voltage and reference ground. So it's a pretty simplified wiring headed back to the MoTeC to use some of the auxiliary AV inputs that the ECU has. We've wrapped up the base map. It makes around 1,000 horsepower, 18-19 PSI, which according to Jim is on par for the engine with stock camshafts. So now we can go to the track, make some runs, and dial it in. After tuning the car on the dyno, we sent Bryant off to the Mod Nationals where he lost in the semifinals. He lost in the semifinals because the MoTeC hit a safety cut. The reason for the safety cut is one of the multiple fuel pumps that he has in his tank stopped working and the fuel pressure dropped. So when the fuel pressure is dropping, the MoTeC will add injector duty cycle until it can't cover for the engine's fueling needs anymore, and then you can turn on a safety cut. So instead of losing an engine, you lose a round of racing, which is way less expensive. So apart from having the engine safeties available through the MoTeC, you get what I would consider the best data logging system on the market. And you also have the opportunity to keep an eye on those variable cam timing chains and guides as they wear through extreme use. If you're looking to get a MoTeC system or looking for MoTeC tuning, feel free to reach out. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.